Hello everyone, my name is Lucas Aubert. I'm a solutions engineer at VertiGIS, and in this tech tip video, I'll be walking you through how to get started with VertiGIS Studio Reporting. Let's dive in. VertiGIS Studio Reporting is a no-to-low-code report template building tool that allows users to generate dynamic, data-driven PDF reports from VertiGIS Studio Web, mobile, and desktop for ArcGIS Pro. If you'd like to learn more about what VertiGIS Studio Reporting is, please watch our Introduction to VertiGIS Studio Reporting tech tip. Now to get started, let's navigate to apps.vertigisstudio.com. This is where you can access the browser-based report designer. Let's click Launch and then sign in using our ArcGIS Online account. We're then brought to the VertiGIS Studio Reporting dashboard page where we can see the starter templates as well as previously created report templates. Now imagine that you are a GIS analyst for the city or county that you live in. Let's create a report that will allow members of the public to generate parcel information reports within a VertiGIS Studio web app. Let's begin with the Layer Report starter template and connect a map service containing parcels to the template. Here, I'll enter a name for the data source, and I'll copy and paste the URL from the REST endpoint. Within a matter of a few clicks, we now have a good start to our parcel report. We already have a title and a pre-populated data table with the first 6 fields in the map service. Let's save the app and give it a name. This stores our report as an item in ArcGIS Online or Portal. We can set sharing permissions on this item just like any other item in your portal. Now, before we continue building out our parcel report, let's take a brief tour of the designer interface. On the left-hand side are the elements that we can use to build the report. And as you can see, we can simply drag and drop text, images, charts, and much more. At the top, we have several tools that allow us to navigate around the report template. I want to draw your attention to the Preview button. This is where we'll be able to preview the report as we continue designing it. On the right-hand side are the properties of the selected elements. Here, I can modify the style, formatting, dynamic text, and much more. The database icon displays the data sources connected to the report template. Here's the tax parcel map service that we added earlier. Note how I can see all the fields stored within the dataset. One of my favorite capabilities is being able to simply select the attributes you want to report on and drag them directly into the report template. In doing so, the expressions to get the attributes on runtime get set automatically, and all that's left to do is format the style. Parameters allow us to pass information to the report via VertiGIS Studio Web or a workflow. It also allows us to quickly preview the report when designing the template. The Feature IDs parameter is required in order to tell the VertiGIS Studio Reporting engine which features to run the report on. Let's test this by configuring the default feature IDs. Let's add feature IDs for 3 different parcels here. Now, when we preview the report with our default feature IDs, we can see what the report would look like if those tax parcels were selected within the VertiGIS Studio web app. Great. Now that we have a working report, let's add a few additional elements to make this report more informative. Let's configure a chart showing the previous and current assessed parcel values. Now, to figure out where the best place to add the chart is, we need to understand what each band represents. The top and bottom margins are, well, the top and bottom margins of the report, pretty self-explanatory. The report header represents content at the top of the first page of the report. The page header represents the content at the top of each page within the report, and the detail band represents content that is repeated for each feature being reported on. Now going back to our preview, we can see that this table row was rendered 3 times, once for each selected feature. Now if we navigate to the Report Explorer on the right-hand side here, we can see the structure of our report. Here we see there's a text element in the report header, 2 elements in the page header, and digging into the detail band here, we can see that there is a table present. We can also search for elements within our report to quickly access them. All right, let's say we want to display a single chart for the entire report. To do that, we'll start by dragging and dropping the chart element into the report header band. Let's create a bar chart with 2 bars for each parcel, one representing the previously assessed value and another representing the current assessed value. To do that, we'll create a series for each of these. Next, we'll rename the series. Then we'll connect the tax parcel data to the charts. We now want to group the charts by parcel. So let's choose the parcel ID from the argument data members dropdown. And last, we'll choose the field we want to report on within the value data members dropdown. So for this one, I'll do the previously assessed value, and then for this one over here, I'll do the current assessed value. Next, let's add a $sign to the bar labels. One important thing to note here is that VertiGIS Studio Reporting utilizes DevExpress syntax, so I'll use the pattern provided in the DevExpress documentation to format the text. Let's finish by moving the legend below the chart. Let's also change the name of the chart title. And then let's add a page break below the chart. Great. Let's preview the report and take a look at how it's coming along. Okay, so this is starting to take shape here. Next, let's reformat the table so that it's a little more visually appealing. We'll start by moving the table header into the detail band. Let's minimize the page header for now. And we'll add a page break to the bottom of the detail band. Let's preview the report to see how this looks. Okay, this looks good. This allows us to add additional elements under each parcel table to make the report more informative. So next, let's pivot the table headers so that we can squeeze more data into the table. To do that, I'll drag over a new table, add an additional column here, and I'll distribute the columns evenly across the page. I'll then add a few more rows. Let's delete the 2 tables that came with the template here. Now I'll start entering in the fields that I want to report on. We'll do owner name, description, assessment use, and then let's add a few more fields to fill out the table. Now that we have our labels, I'll make them semi-bold. And I'll resize the cells that will hold our expressions. And then I'll navigate to my field list to drag and drop over the fields. Note that you can also search for the fields you're looking for to quickly access those. Let's continue by adding a title and subtitle for our table. For that, I'll add 2 rows to the top. And at the top, we'll write tax parcel information. We'll make this size 14 font and semi-bold. And let's also add a green background to the cell and make the text white. For the subtitle, we'll enter an expression that should show the parcel identification number followed by the address. Let's go into the expression editor and look at the fields we can use to create our expression. Here we want the parcel ID, site address, the postal city field, the postal state field, and then that should be pretty good. We'll then concatenate these fields together to form our subtitle. Let's make this text a dark gray color and increase the font size to 12. Next, I'll select every other row in the table and add a light gray background to the cells to make the table more visually appealing and easier to read. Let's preview the report, see how it's coming along. Looks like our page break is in the wrong location. Let's go ahead and fix that. Nice, looks great. Now, what if we wanted to color the assessed value change red if it's negative, and then green if it's positive? Let's take a look at how we can set up a simple conditional expression to implement this. In the expression editor, we'll navigate to foreground color and then look at what functions are available to us. Let's go down to logical and choose the if function. Here it's telling us that we have to first enter our Boolean statement, then enter the values we want to return if the statement returns true or false. In our case, this will be the colors we want, so red or green. But for the first argument, I'll enter the assessed value change field, followed by less than or equals to 0. For the second argument, I'll navigate to the values list to see what color options I have. So here, let's choose red. And for our last argument, so if the conditional statement is not true, in other words, the assessed value change is positive, we'll return green. Let's take a look at a preview to see if it worked. Great. So as we can see here, the condition fired upon report generation and applied to all the data tables. Now, besides tables and charts, VertiGIS Studio Reporting also allows users to add maps to their reports. So let's add a map below our data table. Let's go over to our Report Elements menu and drag over a feature picture box. Now, when we preview the report, we can see that the map highlights and zooms to the parcel being reported on. Note that back in the designer, we can actually change the base map and highlight color used in the feature picture box if needed. If the features you are reporting on have attachments like images, you can drag and drop the attachments element like so to display them in the report. Here is an example of a report with attachments. So let's just add a few finishing touches and complete our report. Let's add an overview map below the chart to provide spatial context for the report. In the properties, we'll link it to the feature picture box in the detail band. We'll also zoom out a bit here by choosing an expand of 8. Let's also modify the title a bit to make it stand out a bit more. Let's add our organization's logo. And using the page info element, which offers a wide array of dynamic information that we can add to our reports, let's add the creation date, author, and page numbers to the footers. All right, now that we've successfully created our report, we can embed this in our VertiGIS Studio web or mobile app and empower our users with the ability to generate data-driven PDFs. Let's take a look at how this report looks when generated from a VertiGIS Studio web application. So to recap here, we began with a starter template. We toured the designer interface, connected our main data source to the template, configured a bar chart, added an overview map, added dynamic text to our page footers, and configured maps and data tables. Thanks for sticking with us through this tech tip. If you found this helpful or learned something new, feel free to like this video and comment on what you learned below. And if you'd like to give VertiGIS Studio Reporting a try, go to apps.vertigisstudio.com for a free 60-day trial. Thanks everyone for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more VertiGIS tech tip videos. Bye for now.